Hey everybody, welcome to Bloodlines and Bottom Lines, the show where we explore what really happens when family, business, and identity collide. I'm your co-host, Robert Moskowitz.
And I'm your co-host, Gershon Margolis.
Hey Gershon. And each week we sit down with someone brave enough to talk honestly about the messy, complicated, beautiful, and sometimes painful realities of running a family business. These are the stories behind the legacy, the stories behind the trauma, the stories behind the bottom line.
All right. Today, I'm excited to have a special co-host, Shlomo. Shlomo happens to be my brother, which is very appropriate for a family business podcast. And we're excited to have our guest today is a mother and daughter team, Denise and Ashley. Denise is the mom, Ashley is the daughter, and they are actually the second and third generation of a family business. So welcome, Denise and Ashley.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Excited to be here with you. All right. So let's get started. I guess my first question here is, where did the business come from? Right? Denise, your dad started it. Was he always like a laundry guy? Did he come from property management? Did he, just dream this up one day? Where did that start? And then how did you get involved?
So he actually was in construction in the late 60s, early 70s. He was a heavy machinery operator. He operated a bulldozer. So this is at the time when Queens was really booming with new construction, multiple dwellings, what have you. So we would go in with the bulldozer, break ground, and say, here's my card. Would I be able to put my machines in your apartment building when it's eventually the public building? So he was really the one that did the hard work here.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, every business you got to have someone who's willing to go out there. Not every business, but most businesses need someone, especially at the beginning, who's willing to go out, make a brand, make a name, ask those sometimes uncomfortable questions. And was that his personality in general, to go and tackle uncomfortable things, or it was...
He was certainly personable, outgoing. He had the whole package. In that, he believed strongly and he wanted to build some kind of business. He always had that desire, different things, but this one kind of stuck. And then eventually he, like we have now, lost a lot. It was a model and he tried it and it stuck.
Got it. And then how did you, when you were little, were you expected to be in the business? Did you always want to be here?
I don't think that was my father's dream to have a female in the business. I don't think that's how portraits go. But I guess when my brother went to medical school, that was my ticket in. I worked here part-time when I was in college. I went to a commuter school. It was different years ago. I didn't go off to college. I stayed at home and went to college. And I worked part-time here. And at the time, the business was growing and the needs were there. And when I graduated, I never left. I just stayed with my dad and we worked together parallel for medical. And we began to really pick up momentum and develop the business and it's cool. So I always found it intriguing that my dad had a business. And it was very different. I never, whether it's good or bad, I never actually physically learned how to repair an appliance. But I can tell you I've been at it a lot of years and nobody could snow me on that sort of thing. But when he was doing it, he was the salesman, the guy with the toolbox, the guy that was collecting coin. And, fast forward, things have evolved.
So Denise, Dad didn't necessarily expect you to join, but then your brother went off to medical school and you ended up there and you were there through college and you have never left.
So we began to, over time, you realized the necessity. And it worked out that we were growing the business and we needed the extra hands and it fell into place. Fortunately, it worked out.
And can you talk about your role at the company and how it's evolved since, you were working there part-time in college to up to today?
So, like any small business, I worked in the office and whatever's, I did admin work and that sort of thing. And then when, as we began to grow the company, we brought people in the office to assist on the phones. And I took a sales role. I then went from in the office to I was on the road a lot. building the business, taking in business, yada, yada. Fast forward, my daughter graduated school, and there's a storyline there too. She helped us out during the pandemic. She was still a student. She became remote. She kind of came into the office out of necessity. We didn't have people on the lines. People were COVID scared. She was manning the lines and taking classes, et cetera, et cetera. So that enabled me to do less field work. She began to pick up that. And now we've evolved. We've had a significant amount of growth over the last 10 years or so. And I've kind of turned into, as the sales department calls me, an indoor cat, where I operate as the CEO and I manage the day-to-day operation. And that takes in whatever we do here.
Not to cut off Denise, but she does not give herself enough credit. Yes, my grandfather laid the foundation, but she truly tripled the business. She's built it into what it is today. She's being humble. She really is. She's an absolute power chick. She has a drive and a passion like I've never seen before. And not to discredit my grandfather at all. He had the vision. He definitely laid the foundation. But, again, Denise is being humble. She's absolute fiend in the laundry industry. She's awesome.
I'm basically the coach of a decent team, and we have good players at every angle of this business. And Ashley, not to sound like we're flattering each other, she really has the secret sauce in the DNA as well. So she came in with a serious force, different kind of way I manage things. She's a little bit more corporate, a little more formalized, and it's just been a win-win all around. So I would say that, it's DNA that lined up well 3 generations straight. So, but thank you, Ashley. I do enjoy the industry, but we were able to grow the business.
Got it. So Ashley, you came in during COVID. Did you just come in a couple of months early because you hadn't graduated yet? Or you just got thrown in completely unexpected?
Well, I always like to say I was birthed in the office, which is not true, but even growing up, we would do trade shows on the weekend and she would dress me as a washing machine and have me hand out flyers. So it's not, yes, I joined officially during COVID, but, it's always been something. It's the only job I've ever known, which I love. And I think a common misnomer of family businesses is it's forced on you, which it's not. I have a brother who's older than me. He's a CPA. He wants nothing to do with the laundry industry, which, there's no shame in that. But like Denise, I truly enjoy what I do. I think it's very fun. So it kind of makes going to work not so much going to work. But yeah, during the pandemic, I was remote from college, obviously, and I was on Zoom calls and I'd be answering the phone. And I once had a professor yell at me during class. She's like, "What are you doing? You're not paying attention in class." And I was like, "Lady, no offense, but whatever we're learning in this BS class right now is not where I'm going to be taking my future." So, but it's all good. Like Denise said, it's a true passion and it's very fun.
Got it. So you planning to be CEO eventually?
I'm not knocking her out anytime soon. But like Denise, I am also in a tab group and, there's so much I need to learn. Right now, I consider myself Denise's right-hand man lefty. I try and learn and shadow everything she does.
It's really been nice to be able to groom somebody, and she's not shy. She doesn't just do as I say. She challenges me a lot, which is what I need. It's a good thing.
Right.
Ashley, how do you approach, most of us are raised from a young age. I don't know if you went to Catholic school or Jewish school or any of those. Most of us are raised, you're supposed to respect your parents. It's in the 10 Commandments. But the flip side is mom needs you to challenge her. So how does that work?
That's very funny. I did go to Catholic school. But that is besides the point. Yes, very, very much a rule follower, which I give to Catholic school for, keeping us in line. But my mom and I's relationship, of course, first, she's my mother, but she's always been a best friend figure to me. So I've kind of always had, this is going to come out very wrong, but I've never been afraid to approach her with anything. Of course, she steps in as a mom and can discipline me, but, she's always been very welcoming for me to approach her, not only on a personal level, but on a professional level. She's never shot me down like, "Kid, you don't know what you're talking about." Maybe my ideas are not always right, but she's always very open and willing to entertain them and we talk them out and, we try and find middle ground because, she has more experience and I have different ideas. So we try and kind of play both sides to find common ground. But, like I said, she's not unapproachable. And I think if you ask anyone that worked here, they would agree. She's not like barking at anyone.
You guys are in business together, right? It's healthy to have a little banter. Nobody wants a yes man. Sure, sometimes she gives it to me straight and I get perhaps pissed. I go home and think about it. And I'm like, God.
Right. Denise, what would you say about, would you say there was a similar dynamic with you and your dad?
I think it was a little different. It was more like he was my boss. It was a respect thing. And I think over time he realized, she's, not that I pulled a female card, but she's capable and this is doable. And we worked, and I would say it was more good than bad. I mean, I think it was a little different. It was a different generation, a different time. He was my boss. And
it's probably not just because he was your father or just because he was a male and you were a female.
no, it was generational, I think, maybe, or my personality, or that's a nice thing. I don't know why.
I think people took bosses in a different kind of serious back then. That's the sense I get.
I see it now. These youngsters are not shy about, which I don't hate. I mean, as long as they're relatively respectful, but they're not shy about giving you their opinion, and I don't hate it, and giving feedback, and it's just a different world. It's not wrong. It's just different.
Okay. I have a question for Ashley. And this one might be a little uncomfortable, so we'll see. It's something that when we talk with people who are working with their parents, this comes up a lot. And sometimes it's even brought up by the people on the podcast, the guests. When you came in, do you feel that you have to prove yourself? Because in a different kind of way than a different employee would. Do people view you differently? And how do you approach that?
Another common, I think, misnomer about a family business is, I have friends that make silly comments. Oh, well, you work for the family. You could do whatever you want. You have unlimited PTO, yada, yada, yada. And I don't even think I have to prove myself to my mother. I know that she knows that I come into work and I do my job. It's definitely everyone else around me. And we have a phenomenal team. We really do. We couldn't do it without them. But, I'm definitely trying to show them that I'm not just like riding on coattails. Like, I want them to know I know what I'm doing and I'm trying to work hard and I want to work as a team. So, yes, there's a bit of pressure on that side. And again, it's not from Denise.
There are some old timers that really break her shoes. I'm not going to lie. I mean, she commutes out of Manhattan and we're here before 7 a.m. She's getting up at 4:45 to just show them. And, it's necessary that we're here in the morning, but she, I think, has to make more of an effort than the average Joe because, unfortunately, people have that, like she said, that misnomer.
But you know what? Denise always has. And, those are the footsteps that I'm following in. She's always been the first here and the last to leave. So, I mean, that's who I'm learning from. And that's
time off. Don't learn from me. It doesn't make it right.
Yeah, we'll work on that. I mean, maybe like a few more PTO days, but that's a discussion for another time.
So
if you have a life, it's different.
Talking about the laundry space on Long Island, there's a fellow who you both may have heard of named Jan Sussman. Jan Sussman is a coach. Right now, he's a coach for growing food companies, but he used to run a company called Coimac, where, as you probably both know, Bob was the CEO there for a while, and before that, the CFO. Shout out to Bob Doyle. Bob Doyle is my former partner and the person who made the intro to Ashley and Denise. Right now, he's running Tab of Nassau County. Anyway, so Bob told me that they had some issue with the parking spots at Coimac, and he went to Jan Sussman and he asked him, like, do you want to, should we write your name on the parking spot? Do you want the CEO parking spot? He's like, no, I don't need it. He's like, when anyone gets here before me, they could have the spot. So I guess it runs in the laundry.
So that's a good answer. And Jan is a very smart man. It's nice to hear that he's still out there doing his thing. Full disclosure, I was 21 years old and I was frightened of Jan. He moved me so super nervous. He was a Wharton grad and my dad used to tell me, and I'm like, I'm not Wharton material. But I mean, he can be accredited for making the industry of what it is. He really brought it to the next level. So Shout out to Jan. He probably doesn't even know who I am, but he did some wonderful things. Even though I was scared of him, he was a smart man. He made the laundry industry a business, not just washers and dryers and basements. He took it to the next level.
Can you dig into that a little bit more? Talk about what it was, how he's really grew laundry into a business?
Well, I think for many, many years, this industry, and not my dad's generation was comprised of maybe landlords and people that had washers and dryers in their basements, of which it was coin, and which quite possibly half of the coin went into people's pockets. And I don't say my dad, I mean, say people running legitimate businesses were like poo-pooed with that. So the Jans of the world more or less made the businesses what they are today. This is a real business. This is a real amenity for your building. This could be a source of revenue for your property. He more or less, folks like my dad and Jan Sussman legitimized. People still make jokes about the laundry industry, which are not accurate. So that's what I could say the Sussmans did for the industry.
Great.
Now, there's a lot of different companies out there. There's big companies, there's small companies, there's private equity backed. I think you guys are privately held.
Yes.
That's the sense I get. So what are the differences between the different companies out there? And when you're going into a property, I'm assuming you're selling to the property owner or the property manager. What's your angle? What are you telling them how does Automatic Industries differ from other big ones, other small ones? How do you view that?
That's what you say. Take it.
It's simple. We're local and we're relationship based. If you're partnering with a company that's backed by private equity and running operations in California for locations in New York, your location number 456. When you're dealing with a small boutique company like ours, I know that your property manager's name is Steve. Steve has 3 kids. Steve lives on Long Island and we sometimes go to the same supermarket. It's very different. There's a relationship. If there's a problem, Denise and I are hands-on. You're not going through 15 channels to try and get to the right department to get a problem solved. And, anyone from the largest laundry provider to the smallest can provide you with the same machines and the same payment systems. Your rent might be slightly different in terms of what they pay you every month. Like a large company might be able to pay you up the wazoo because they were not really so concerned on profits because they're backed by private equity. But, we're service-based. Again, same machines, but if no one's servicing those equipment, you're not making income and, your residents aren't happy. So we strive ourselves on our technicians dispatch from the areas that they live in and they're serving their neighborhood. Your technician that lives in New Jersey is serving his New Jersey location and you'll probably run into him at the local bar. It's that neighborhood, that small boutique feel. And we like to strive ourselves on the 24 to 48 hour service response time. I always like to say, no offense to what we do for a living, it's not rocket science. Laundry should not be stressful. It should be very simple. And we try and do that for our customers.
Got it. Good. So you mentioned New Jersey. How large is your coverage area?
New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, with New York being our roots.
Got it. And you also mentioned, I'm curious, digging into the business angle a little bit, private equity doesn't care as much about making money. So let's talk about what's the business model and which part do they care less about and normal businesses care more about. So you guys charge money to consumers, right? They put quarters or now credit card, and we can talk about that soon, but they pay money and then you guys collect the money. And in exchange for that, you're kind of buying and servicing machines. Is that?
Yeah, we're in essence like a commercial tenant for the building. Not to say none of us are not for profit. I think what she's trying to say is we put the personal spin on it. In other words, we service and we care. That's the difference. A PE firm wants to see a good bottom line. Everybody wants to see a good bottom line.
They have deeper pockets is kind of what I meant. They're able to kind of...
Yeah. So yeah. Maybe. So maybe we don't want Co-op City, the largest co-op in New York. Maybe let them have it. But that's what we're trying to say.
Yeah. They might be able to come in higher on bids in terms of what they can pay back every month just because they're backed by so much,
Yeah, they're paying less.
They deeper pockets, right? we're more concerned on healthy profits because we're not backed by,
Is Main Street happy with us? Will the building down the block give us a good reference? And I think that's kind of more how we build our model of growth, is word of mouth referrals. And it's not all about, the bottom line. It's about.
Shlomo actually spent most of his career doing PR for the real estate industry.
Bet you we know a lot of same people, Shlomo.
We may. We can talk about that later. You talked about paying essentially rent to the buildings as well. Can you walk us through, I guess, the exact mechanics of the business model? There's money flowing to the building owners, and then the residents are essentially paying as they use the machine for laundry, essentially as an amenity. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. That's more or less it in a nutshell. It's a source of revenue, but we're giving them an amenity. We take care of the whole kit and caboodle associated with the amenity.
And obviously repairs are done on your end, not on the building end. Right. Has this always been the model going back to the 70s?
Yes, probably, unless a lot of the buildings maybe weren't receiving rent. I'm not sure. I mean, that's, I guess it was on a case by case. I'm sure there was a lot of self-op where it was just like a source of income for the landlord or little something.
Right. That was actually going to be my next question. Is self-operating, is buildings operating their own laundry rooms? Is that, less of a thing than it used to be?
Yeah, I don't think it's as prevalent because the technology has evolved now where a small operator doesn't have the capacity for an app, which we have, and things that maybe it doesn't make sense. It's not a quarters model anymore. It's evolved to something else where people can get text alerts, where they can view on their online to see machine availability, something a landlord might not take the time or have the resources to create.
Yeah, I guess fine. It makes sense. That kind of ties into the maturation of the industry.
It's very interesting to see how the different payment processing has changed from generation to generation. Like my grandfather was very much like the coin era. Like growing up, I would go with my grandfather in his pickup truck to like collect coins from machines at marinas. And then Denise introduced the laundry card, which is like almost like a debit card that can be added with either cash or credit and debit. And then my generation is now all towards like the mobile app and the tap to pay. And, now we're working with trademarks for like mobile app names. So that's one of the things that I find most interesting is, of course, each generation comes with new ideas, but the evolving payment is so interesting to me.
Yeah, it's I live in a rental. My building just made that jump to the next generation within the last few months from
Who's your
requiring.
provider?
I'm blanking on the name. It's not you guys.
Well, are you happy? Like,
Shame, not yet.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I'm not looking to roll. I the wash comes out clean.
that's better. That's a good goal. It's a great goal.
In fact, when I lived in Queens, we had Bob's company. I didn't know Bob yet, but we had their card. It was an electronic card from the company he was CEO of at the time. And another fun fact, I once interviewed for a job at his company.
No kidding.
And I got out of graduate school and some recruiter sent me in for a job there. And I didn't meet him. He was like the CEO.
Well, I'm just curious, what position would it have been?
It was a financial analyst reporting into like a VP of operations.
That's really cool.
Something like that. I'm forgetting the guy's name now. He had an interesting name. Maybe I'll remember it. Because I mentioned it to Bob once. He's like, oh, that's so funny. I remember that guy.
Yeah, it was a big beast. I don't know if I know the guy, but interesting, just curious to know the role. That's very interesting.
And that's probably 10, 15 years ago. More than 10, I'm sure. Because 10 years ago, I was in investment banking. So, question. When these industries switch, and this is probably more of a Denise question, when you switch from quarters to cards, did you lose money? Or was there so much stuff being stolen anyway that you came out ahead?
Yeah, it was undoubtedly more difficult to track coin when you had people going out to collect. That's a fact. But actually, the evolution of these payment systems, dirty little secret. Now I'm disclosing dirty little secrets. You actually get float. So if somebody loads $10 on their laundry card or app and they only do $7 that day, well, you captured $10 on that transaction. Now, we're not greedy because we split that float with the property. So it's okay because we all benefit from the dirty little tip.
Got it. Well, eventually you all have to make good on it, right? They're going to eventually wash
Yeah,
their
that's
laundry.
it gets used, but you're getting a little advance, and which is never a bad thing, right?
It's free money. You get to borrow
right.
for
It's
free.
like money in the bank, but if somebody moves out or what have you, we certainly reimburse that money. It's not anything that we're looking to take away from people.
Right,
So
but I'm sure people will even sometimes lose cards or whatever, and like we were saying, it's certainly a loan. That's really interesting that you share that with the building. That sounds like messy accounting.
not every company does, but I think that maybe is like been a benefit for us. I think it has been that we not everybody pays on float, but that's something we do.
Yeah. How does that work? Because if you pay out to the building on float and then you end up refunding it, what happens then? Or does that happen so rarely it's not
We'll
really
take
relevant?
it doesn't happen infrequently because hopefully you're there for the 10 of the lease. So I guess it all works out in the end. But if we're paying a building a percentage, it's a lot easier for us to dissect a merchant account and just pay on what the net deposit was, and that's what we share with the property.
Got it. Okay.
I think that's really interesting stuff about the business. I wonder if we could spin things back toward the family dynamic side of it. Work issues ever spill over into family time, into, I don't know, when you're doing holidays together? Is that something you have other family members who are like, God, you guys keep talking about laundry? Is that something that's ever coming up?
And apologize for it all the time. I mean, Ashley moved out at a very young age because she just had to get away from it.
I had to.
And, ironically, my husband, fast forward now, was in a family business. He's an engineer by degree. They were electrical contractors. He semi-retired, what have you. He now works here the last 2 years. So we can't get away from it. And you could well imagine my son hates to visit for dinner because he can't get away from it. So it's not easy. It's not so easy.
I hear.
And house counsel is my sister. So it's never ending. We get together for Thanksgiving and she'll be like, by the way, I sent that in. Okay, great. Thanks. And yeah, you can't get away from it.
Got it. So you're all in on this family thing, except for your son.
It's not for everyone. No. And it's funny because being that he was with Deloitte, I guess it's a big firm for a while. And we would pick his brain all the time. And he's on board. Like he understands the industry. He just doesn't want to, I wouldn't say he consults, but I'll ask him something and he'll just break it down for me. And I'll say, oh, really?
Maybe he'll eventually be the CFO.
Him all the time in 10 years, I'm going to get to. And it's not for everyone. My son and I love each other. And I think we need to keep it that way. I don't know if we should work together. And I'll say it again and again. Very glad my brother went to medical school and not into the family business. Love the guy, but it's.
Do you think there are ever times when naturally, I mean, we even talked about this earlier a little bit, there can be some friction or, or I'm sure it's come up, I'm your mom in just in terms of, discussions within the business. Do you ever find that kind of tensions can be escalated even more because of the fact that your family tensions? I'm saying in the workplace, is that ever something that you think is a concern, or is it, maybe it's really the other way?
Ash, you want to answer that?
I think that's a double-edged sword. I think I can count on my hands the time that it's gotten like negatively because we have the mother-daughter dynamic and she hits me with the line, I will sell this business tomorrow if it's going to get in between us. And I think she wholeheartedly would live by that. So she would never let, like I said, the business come in between us. But, I think our conversations are always very passionate. And I think that the fact that we are mother-daughter, it kind of allows for that raw reaction. Like I don't have to feel like I need to be professional to tell her how I feel about something.
And again, I'll reiterate, she doesn't hold back, it's healthy. It works for us. And if you want us to stand up and have a fist fight on screen, we're not the two. So
it's not going to happen.
We're different.
You're in different rooms.
It's true.
Not too far away. But we're like in that we're both kind of non-confrontational, which is, I think, a good thing that we can think it out, even with our employees, and we get approached. And, there's certain employees that do better with Ashley because she has a different approach. And there's certain old timers that do better with me. So we know how to dissect it and say, like, you take XYZ, I'll take it.
With numerous members of the family in the business, Denise, do you ever have concern about, I don't know, giving more responsibility to somebody and then again, it'll come back? I don't want to say to bite you, but right, somebody else will take that, personally. Another family member will take that personally.
With any family business, there's always concerns. Yes. There's always been, I've had nephews that have interned here. We've always been open to it. And the one thank you over and over again is that my dad recognized that we were growing the business together and he did the right thing, that it's, really, you don't join a family business because you want a lifestyle or a paycheck. You join a family business or any business because you enjoy it and you're good at it. And that's why I got into this business, not because I wanted a lifestyle, because it wasn't necessarily always there. It's evolved to, thankfully, we're doing okay, but it's not why you want to go into a family business. And some people do it, and that's for all the wrong reasons. It doesn't equate to success if you do it just for the money or just.
Right. And I think that goes back to the question earlier. That doesn't mean I get to roll in at 11 o'clock because I wanted to sleep late, just because I'm her daughter. It's quite completely the opposite, because it is the family business. You need to be the first one here because you have people to manage and you have to set an example. And, this is not, well, mom said that I can come in at 12 because I had a late night last night. That's not, people, I love my friends, but I'm not going to say I've never gotten the comment of, well, your mom's your boss. Don't worry about it. You don't have to go in tomorrow. So,
I mean, we take family business, and this is just for amusement's sake, because often when I think about it, it's amusing. I love my employees like my family. So our operations manager is, we have a brother and a sister-in-law, operations and customer service. Then we have 2 mechanics that their sons work here. We have an installer who has 2 sons that work here. And we have an interview next week with one of our mechanics' wife for another customer service position. Oh, we also have 2 cousins. And the only negative to this is that I say, it's all in the family is, if there's a funeral or if they go on vacation and I lose 3 people at a time, but then my daughter, my husband, and I are no better. But I always find it amusing because even as we grow, we're keeping the family, which is I think pretty cool that, our mechanics, one of our mechanics, his son now is doing sales for us. So I think it's kind of neat because we take care of the family and the family brings in more family. And I hope we always have that. It's not just Ashley and I and my husband. It spills to all the departments. It's kind of neat.
That's really nice. So let's take one question to follow up on something you said, and I think we're going to wind down. You mentioned, or Ashley said that Denise says that if it comes between us, I'm going to sell the business. So when we think of the future of the business, would you sell the business? Are you planning to sell the business to Ashley? Is that the long-term plan?
If Ashley enjoys the business, I think Ashley is and can continue doing great things in this business. We have no intentions of selling right now, but we take it day by day. When I lay that line on her, it's just no business should ever come between family. And I mean it with all sincerity. And it's only when it gets heated, and that's not too often, but.
It feels like more of a threat than go to your room.
Amen.
Yeah, it is 100% scarier. But I think there's a lot shifting in the industry right now, not to share trade secrets, but there's opportunity for growth. And I think Denise and I are still having fun, making larger routes in the New York metro area.
That's right.
What's one thing the outside world would never know about your family dynamic?
Oh, that's a whole one.
That's why we get paid the big bucks.
They have a partner.
I mean, not to step on toes here, Denise, but I think that our dynamic changes within the hour. I think it goes from you being my mentor to you being my mother, to you being my boss, to you being my business partner, to you being my best friend. And I think that we work so well together because it can kind of, circumstance dependent. It kind of, depends.
Okay. So thank you very much, Ashley and Denise. Thank you, Shlomo, for co-hosting.
Thanks for having me.
Nice
Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys. Best of luck to
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Bloodlines and Bottom Lines. If this conversation resonated with you, or if you know someone who's lived through the complexity of a family business, share this episode with them. It helps more than you know. And if you have a story of your own and would like to be a guest on the show, reach out. Family businesses shape who we are, for better or for worse, and telling these stories matters. Until next time, I'm Gershon Margolis.
And I'm Robert Moskowitz.
This is Bloodlines and Bottom Lines, where we go beyond the business and into the truth.